Hi everybody, welcome. Thank you for joining me despite yesterday's video, which seems to have so many of you in it is, and I very quickly want to run through it and your comments again, because God alone knows, had I put my words on paper, I would likely have been burned at the stake. I thought I made it abundantly clear that I'm not saying for a fact that Johnny Thompson is Charles's son. I said in my video that he may be Charles's next Michael Fawcett, meaning that he is taking good care of King Charles and can be trusted. The reason why he's being treated differently can be for many, many reasons. Do I know why? Do we know why? No. Will we ever know why? No. But we can speculate. We are allowed. I also find it very hypocritical that one is applauded if you should say something about Harry and his children, or Andrew and his relationships and children, but dare speculate about Charles's, and you better watch your back. Now, I don't like that. Where I'm trying my damnedest to be, at the very least, be fair, the reactions I get sometimes, the threats, are actually turning me into a rebel and someone who now dislikes the man, whereas previously I hardly took much notice of him. So what I'm saying is that the fact that people do not listen properly or get angry and do not finish listening before they jump on me in the comment section or via email or DM is having the exact opposite effect to what you want it to have. For instance, in my video, I also said quite clearly that the familiar look or the slight resemblance could also be due to the fact that men like Charles II had 14 illegitimate children. And if you consult historians online or at a number of British universities, they will clearly tell you that those bloodlines persist to this very, very day. Now, King John, for instance, had 3 illegitimate sons and a daughter that people knew of. Henry VIII had numerous illegitimate children, 6 who are actually known by name: Henry Fitzroy, John Perrot, Thomas Stukely, Catherine Carey, Henry Carey, and Richard Edwardus. Now, I can go ahead and compile a list of the number of illegitimate children born to British kings since the 11th century right up to fairly recently, but I think I have proven my point. These bloodlines continue all over Europe and in Britain to this very day, although the further removed, the less we will even know about them. They can be secretaries, housewives, doctors, lawyers, even the homeless man you see in town, or your neighbor. Some of these children have just lived normal lives and did not even themselves know about their bloodline. I actually made a point of mentioning that in my previous video. I have heard of people saying their neighbor looked like, say, Prince Edward or Princess Anne or the Queen or whoever, Princess Margaret or the Queen's father, and that is very, very likely because of the illegitimate children through the ages. When it comes to Charles or King Charles, he was no monk before he married Diana, actually. If you look through magazines of, say, the 70s and late 60s, you will see that as Andrew was known as the party prince or Air Miles Andy, Charles was known as the playboy prince due to the sheer number of women he dated. According to a valet of Charles, he had some very specific requirements. But just look at the list of the known women he dated before marrying Diana. Bettina Lindsay, Lucia Santa Cruz, Camilla Shand, we know about her, Amanda Knatchbull, Jane Wellesley, Georgina Russell, Sabrina Guinness, Davina Sheffield, Leonora Grosvenor, Anna Wallace, Carolyn Longman, Jane Ward, Sarah Spencer, etc., etc. 13 women whom we know about by name, but they were not the only ones he saw, in inverted commas. There are numerous stolen photographs of Charles with other named and unnamed women in different locations, like, for instance, this one with Australian model Jane Priest. Now, I know this was a publicity stunt, but if you try hard enough, there are others. Wherever he went, women flocked to him. He was indeed the world's most eligible bachelor in the 70s. These women who pursued Charles and those whom he pursued were dubbed Charlie's Angels by the media. Looking at so many other royals, I find it hard to believe that not one woman, not one single one, ever accidentally fell pregnant or tried to snare the man by falling pregnant. Never mind hooking the prince, there is the added benefit that even if you do not hook the prince and he is not amicable to go marry you, you will likely be financially set for life. I truly find it very hard to believe that the then Prince Charles has not even encountered a pregnancy scare once before he married Diana, particularly with a friend like Van der Post, who encouraged him to sow his wild oats. Since his divorce from Diana, Camilla was also not the only woman Prince Charles was seeing. We all know about the Australian woman Conga. Now, you can come at me saying there is absolutely no proof, etc., etc., but sorry, wrong again. Letters were sold on eBay from Charles to Janet Jenkins, a woman he had a sexual relationship with for 16 to 22 years. Now, I'm saying 16 to 22 years because the one report said 16 years and the other said 22 years. The fact is that their relationship transcended his marriage to Diana and his relationship with Camilla, and only ended shortly, or then a year, 2 or 3, before him and Camilla's wedding. So you guys said in the comments, or one of you said, there's no proof. What more proof would anyone want than photographs and letters? Think about it. I mean, search your soul. Charles is a man of flesh and blood, strengths and weaknesses. He's not God. He's not perfect. Can you or we then be so arrogant, so blasé to say Charles is a better man than, say, Albert of Monaco, for instance? Well, I wouldn't. I respect Albert for recognizing his flesh and blood and for taking responsibility for his actions. And in that particular sense, I think Albert is the better man. The next thing, yes, I do not like Charles, never have and never will, but not for the things most others hold against him, but rather for things like refusing to take responsibility for anything and using BS ancient laws to take, or shall I say what I really want to say? I think rather not. But this man, this billionaire who lives rent-free in castles, has taken from his people everything he could get away with. Yet regardless of that, I am a mother and grandmother, and I'm one of the most flawed human beings I know of. Yet as much as I still regard myself worthy of respect from my children and fairness at least from everyone else, I feel Charles deserves the same. And therefore, despite my own personal dislike of the man, I do not go around grabbing at anything or everything I can to bash him, like so many of you like to accuse me of. But I mention his name and you leave a comment saying I'm bashing your king. Well, perhaps you should listen to my videos, and I mean listen before you comment. And you will notice things like in yesterday's video, I clearly said or explained that due to the king's workload, the things we cannot see, like the letter writing and documents to sign and meetings and financial matters, it's a lot, more than many of us realize, and therefore I acknowledged that if Johnny Thompson is hardworking, friendly, takes good care of the king, gets along with him, etc., etc., I can also see and understand why the king did what he could to keep him. And beyond and above everything else, if the king feels he can trust Johnny, then surely Johnny is worth his weight in gold. Now, if you did not hear me say more or less that, then go back and listen to that video again. Some of you obviously got very upset, so upset that you did not take in anything further in my video. The child born of royal blood in the early 2000s has nothing to do with Johnny. I had long since taken a different course in my video. I told you about the German guy and then that particular child, now a young adult in Ballater. Seriously, folks, I'm not blinded by Lieutenant Colonel Thompson's attractiveness enough to see him as a 24-year-old. One look at him and he looks like an attractive 40-plus-year-old man, not a 24-year-old kid. Anyway, guys, I've given you a couple of things to think about or a bit of advice, which I think is particularly important in the days and years to come. Do not hero worship any man or woman of flesh and blood, because if you do, you will surely be disappointed, maybe even hurt, but instead recognize their failings and their weaknesses and love them anyway. Like I always say, love them warts and all. Okay guys, let's end this video on a much happier note and a good laugh. Or maybe it's not really a laughing matter for you. You can all decide for yourselves. I'm sure most of you will know who Baba Vanga is. But for those who don't, in short, she was a blind Bulgarian mystic and she died in 1996. Anyway, Here are some of her future predictions. 2025, Europe becomes sparsely inhabited. She did not say why, but guys, we are talking about 2025, only a few days away. 2028, a new power source is created, world hunger is eradicated, and humans reach Venus. 2043, Europe's economy booms and it becomes predominantly Islamic. 2084, nature begins to revive itself. 2111, humans become increasingly robotic. 2130, undersea societies are formed with extraterrestrial assistance. 2154, animals evolve to become human-like. 2183, a Mars colony becomes self-sufficient and demands sovereignty. Okay, guys, I'm not going to go any further than this, but according to Baba Vanga, the Earth will cease to exist in the year 5079. So nothing to worry about. By that time, we've all learned to live off engine oil, or here in South Africa, our favorite Q20, to stop the squeaking and rattling of our bones. Okay, I'm just joking. But my dogs are already human-like. They think it's their right to sleep on a bed and shit in the house. And on that stinky note, I'm going to bid you goodbye. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow or the day after. Love you lots. Bye.